look at chapter 2, which is legal structures in a business, you would have seen these 4 basic legal structures. And on top of this, you would have talked about 5 other structures, which were joint ventures, star alliances, holding company, franchises, and social enterprises. Obviously, those are also important, but majority of paper 2 questions revolve around these 4. And the one I picked for today has to do with partnership. Right? We all know what partnerships are. When you can't do it alone, you've got to bring in somebody, and somebody's going to come in. They're going to want more control. They will want more profit and all of those things. But when you do bring a partner in, it's also an opportunity for you to grow smartly, bringing in the right people, bringing in people with money, bringing in people you get along with. So it's a way to expand the business and still try to gain some or retain some control in the company. So partnerships, anything between 2 and 20, you have everybody trying to work towards the benefit of the business. Yeah, you will have some silent partners, but mostly partners are involved in the day-to-day runnings, or basically what they do is they find different departments to work in, different departments to take charge of. So my question today from paper 1, again, it's an 8-mark question. Today, 8-mark is the theme. Next session, we'll have 12-mark questions. And this question is one that I've picked from 2018. I believe this is from 2018. And there's a very good reason why I've picked an older paper or an older question. And the reason is that the way that new syllabus is now and the way the new paper, the new format is, all paper 1 8-mark questions will specify how many points to talk about. So this, if this question was to come in your exams next year, it will be something like this. Instead of saying analyze the advantages, it will say analyze 2 advantages. So before it was unsure how many points we needed to be sure. Now, thanks to King Charles and the big changes in UK this year since his kingship, they now agree on mentioning how many points they're expecting. Now, that does not mean you can't mention more than 2. If you have the time, which I doubt you will, but if you have the time, you can mention 5. But they say the examiner is going to read all 5 and they're going to pick the best 2 out of those 5. So it's up to you. If you take my advice, spend time on 2, do them well, make sure that you have your knowledge, application, analysis, all of those things figured out, and then simply go about your writing your answer. Just before I get to it, I'm going to this part here, the one that we use to explain, just give me 1 second. Copy, delete, and yeah, so this is what we just saw as the process of answering an 8-mark question. It remains the same for paper 2 as well. Paper 1 as well. That you still have to discuss 2 marks for knowledge. You still have to discuss 2 points for application. You still have to discuss 4 points for analysis. You will still need to make 2 points in these 2 paragraphs to be able to achieve those marks. So the good thing is, there is similarity. So you learn how to write an 8-mark answer, you're good for both the papers. In fact, when you go to A2, you will have 2 8-mark questions in your paper 3. And even that 8-mark question is required to answer the same way as we're doing here. So, you know, take this now, use it for the rest of your life. That's what this tip is meant to do. So once again, the process, and again, I'll take you through this. This is the key to all of this. Once you know it's an 8-marker, you know knowledge, application, analysis is what you got to show. Then you got to identify these 3 in the question. And when I read this, analyze 2 advantages of a partnership as a legal structure for the owners of a small business. So first off, my knowledge, the concept, look for that word which you can define in 1-line business concept. It's not analyze or advantages or legal structure even. I can explain partnership definitely as a 1-liner. And I can also explain owners as being the shareholders of the company. So again, 2 definitions that if I can talk about or include in my answer, I'm good for 2 marks of knowledge. Second step is application. And in an 8-mark question, you will never be given a specific business. For example, you won't see self-fuel manufacturer being mentioned, or a drilling company, or a farming company. They will always leave a generic business in place. And what we see here is that they talk about a small business. So as long as I talk about small businesses, I'll be okay for application. As long as I talk about partnership and owners, I'll be okay for knowledge. And what was analysis? Simply advantages and disadvantages. And this question tells you, look, we don't want you to talk about disadvantages. We only want you to talk about the advantages, and two of those at that. So as long as I mention that, I will be okay for my analysis.
Quick pause. If you're finding value in this explanation, there's so much more to discover. At Alt Academy, we break down every A-level concept with the same level of clarity. Now, let's continue.
I hope you're seeing how this two simple pieces, two tricks. First, identifying the requirement of each question, and then finding out in the question itself what you need to talk about. If you can make this connection, your answer is always going to be on point. Okay, so let me just show you quickly how this will be done. I know I'm running over time, but bear with me. I'm hoping that this is fruitful for you. So as always, it's always a nice idea to get a definition out of the way, start collecting marks for knowledge. And I'm going to, of course, talk about what a partnership is. So describe it any way you want. 2 to 20 people, they decide to share control, and they also share responsibilities. Right? And when you talk about responsibilities, who is the one who is taking responsibility? It's the owners. Who are the owners? Who are investing in the partnership? So investors of partnerships, who we simply call partners, and managers. Remember, partners are involved in managing the company on a daily basis themselves. So what I'm doing here is I'm forming the connection of the question in the first paragraph, that look, I know I need to talk about partnerships, so here it is. I know I need to talk about knowledge. I need to talk about owners for knowledge. I'm also talking about that. So set up the answer in the first paragraph. Make the connection of the two knowledge points, and then explain on it further. Okay, so once we do that, I go into my first point. So I'm going to call this PT1. Right? And my answer starts with that one benefit of partnership is that you can divide the burden of work among different partners. Right? Now, usually you would think that this is okay for application, but it's not, because we've just said, look, work can be divided. You have to go a little bit deeper and start explaining from a small business's perspective whether having more people will be helpful or not. So just set up small businesses here. A small business which has few resources, and because you have few resources, meaning you don't have a lot of finance, you don't have a lot of access to skilled workers, that means there will be lack of labor, right? Which means then the gaps are filled by working partners. Right, we just mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I'm making the connection here that look, workers need to share responsibilities, and that's what you do. That if you're a small business, you can't afford any outside help, or you can't afford specialist workers, then partners have to take the responsibility and put it upon their shoulders to take the company forward. Even this is not enough for application. You need to go a little bit deeper. And if I develop this a little bit further, I'll say that marketing, for example, marketing expertise may be lacking, right? These are actual happenings inside a business. And talking about that is basically what application is. So marketing expertise may be lacking or may be limited, and new partners with such knowledge can be brought in. Now notice how I'm not rushing through application. I'm taking it step by step, peeling it like an onion. Don't rush it. Don't think that it's just one point so we can just write a line. Make sure you're convincing the examiner that I know how, the things within the business will change when such an occurrence happens. So new partners can come in, they can bring knowledge that can, cover all these lackings of a business has. And then I come into my analysis. My analysis that once you have your marketing experts, you can come up with an integrated marketing mix. I hope you remember this. Marketing mix, your 4 Ps. It's the job of a marketing manager. And if one partner cannot do it, or if you don't have the money to hire a marketing expert, then you bring in the partner who can make an integrated marketing mix for you. This does two things. It saves cost for the business. Plus, you can come up with a professional looking or accurate looking plan because someone with the right knowledge has done it. And that's right. Marketing tools, remember, are done to make sure you're able to increase your revenue. At the same time, since you are decreasing the cost by not hiring any marketing manager, this will translate directly into an increase in profits. So that's, if you put all of that together, and once again, I'll break it down, explaining partnership is clearly my knowledge. Application was all of this, small business, gaps, and all of that. My analysis is then putting a nice end to my point. So that's point number one. And you know what? I'm actually going to stop at this, and I'm going to, encourage you to, since you know the questions, since you know the format, soon as this session ends, push yourself. Just try to finish this, take pointers from the first point, and see if you can do the same process and come up with the second point. Right? That's really the way to start knowing if you're ready for the exam or not. And if you weren't, you will be hopefully by the end of this.
Now that that's taken care of, head on over to altacademy.org to watch the rest of our A-Levels business videos. Over 60,000 students have already taken the leap. What are you waiting for?